In this episode, I'm going to cover wiring up the Google Sign-In plugin for iOS in my Flutter application. I'll start off by creating a Firebase app. Then I'll install the Google Services-Info.plist. Then I'll import the Google Sign-In plugin, and after that, I'll wire it up and test the sign-in process. So to get started, I'm going to go to the terminal on my Mac, and I'm going to use this to create my application. And what I want to do is type in Flutter Create, and I'm going to use an org this time, and this org will be my domain, and that domain is com.goccat. And then I'm going to name my application Firebase Sandbox. And then I'll hit enter to generate the application. Once the application is generated, I'm going to load it in my IntelliJ IDEA. Once IntelliJ is up and running, I'm going to open the application by clicking on Open, and then I'll navigate to my directory where I created the application, and that will be Firebase Sandbox in my Flutter directory. Okay, I'm going to close the tip, and then I'm going to move over the application and resize the windows here a little bit. Okay, I'm ready for the next step, and what I want to do is create my Firebase application. And I'm going to do this for activating the Google services. So I'm going to click on my Dev Sandbox. I'm not going to walk through creating an application. I'm going to click on an already created project here. So I've already created a couple applications for this project. And this time I'm going to add another app and select iOS. So I'm going to name my iOS bundle ID com.goccat.firebase sandbox because that's the org I used in the application creation. And I'm going to name it my Firebase Sandbox. Okay, I'm going to skip this next step. I'm going to come back to this and edit it in another episode for the App Store IDE. So I'm going to register my application. Okay, I'm going to download the Google Services-Plist, and I'm going to hit download. So that downloaded into the downloads folder, and so what I want to do next is drag this into the IDE, and I'll show where to do that. So I'm going to go back to the IntelliJ IDE, and so what I want to do next is go to the terminal in the lower left-hand corner, and I need to build the application to start with. So I'm going to focus on the terminal. I'm going to go Flutter, build, iOS. I have to build iOS first so I can load it in Xcode. So I'm going to open up Xcode next. So I'm going to select iOS and I'm going to drag it right into my dock onto Xcode. And this will load the project. And what I want to do is drag and drop the Google Services-Plist into the runner. So I'm going to open up, and the runner is my application. So I'm going to drag the Google plist and put it right under runner. And so once that's done, it brings up a dialog, and I'm going to select all the targets by selecting runner. It's already selected by default, and then I'm going to select finish. If I don't do that, the Google plist won't register as part of the application, so it won't work. While I'm here, and I'm going to select runner and go to the general, which is partly hidden. And down in signing, while I'm in here, I've already registered and enrolled in the Apple program, which costs a little bit of money. And this activates the process here for signing the application. So I'm going to go ahead and select Brandon Donaldson. This will get rid of the error. So the next step is to go back to the IDE. So I'm going to close this because I don't need Xcode anymore. I'm going to close Xcode. And what I want to do is navigate into the iOS directory, expand the runner directory, and I'm going to go to the info.plist. And what I need to do is add an attribute here. So I'm going to get ready for that. So I'm going to go to the browser and navigate to the plugins. And I've already had that opened up. So I'm going to put this link in the video description. And what I want to do is go to the Google Sign-In plugin and navigate to the example application in it. Once I'm there, I'm going to expand iOS by clicking on it. And I'm going to go after the runner and down to the info.plist. Once I'm in the plist directory, I'm looking for the CF bundle URL types. This will also be listed in the documentation in the plugin README, but I'm going to copy from the sample application just in case it changes over time. So I want to show you how to get there. So I'm going to copy it, go back to my IDE, and paste it in at the bottom. Well, I don't need the string the domain name here, so I'm going to remove that. I only need the reverse client IDE, but I got to remove what I copied and replace it with mine. So I'm going to remove that, and I'll show you where to get that. That is in the Info.plist, and it is the reverse client ID. So I'm going to copy the value for that attribute. Copy. I'm going to go back to Info.plist and paste it in. Well, that's the only attribute I need at this time. So I can close Info.plist and the Google Services Info. Okay, so the next step is to import the dependency. So I'm going to go to the pubsec.yaml file to do that, and I'm going to get ready to do that. Then the way I get that, I go to the pub.lang and go to the installing tab. I'll include this link in the video description. So I'm going to copy Google Sign-In plugin and go back to the IDE and paste it in. And I'll install the dependencies by fetching the packages by clicking on the packages get link at the top. Okay, so I fetched the dependencies. So the next step is to wire up the sign-in process. So I can minimize the iOS directory because I'm done with that. I'm going to go to the main.dart. So I'll go back to the Google sign-in process, and I could copy import here. So I'll do that and go back and paste it in at the top. If I go back to the browser, and what I want to do is go to the example application because there's some code that makes it easy. So I'm going to copy that code by going to the example and the library directory and the main.dart. So I am in example application, and what I want to do is scroll down. Here's the import for Google Sign-In, and so here's the instantiation process or initialization process. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go back to the IDE. So I'm going to go to the top, and then I'm going to paste in the initialization process here, and I'm going to put final as well because I only have to call this once. Okay, so the Google sign-in is ready. So the next step is go to the example application, and I'm going to scroll down. They have a nifty method in here I can copy, and that's called handle sign-in. Maybe it'll change between now and the time you watch the video. Just look for Google sign-in, sign-in. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the IDE, and I'm going to paste this in just below the main. So this is a function for the library. So I'm going to autocomplete the future. The library hasn't been imported for it yet. So I'm going to hit Alt-Enter, and it will import the async library. And if you scroll to the top, there it is. Okay, now I have handle sign-in. I want to call it from something. And since I'm using an example application, I'll just call it from the action button. So I'm going to copy that, go down to the bottom and find where it's called. So here's the floating action button, and it delegates to a method. So I'm going to go to that method, and I'll just paste it in and complete the method. Okay, so handle sign-in. So I'm going to command click on it. And what I want to do is add one more thing to show me that this is working. So I'll add print. This will print to the console. So this user is signed in. And then I'll add underscore Google sign in, and let's say what the current user is, and let's print the display name. Okay, I'll finish that. Okay, so if all goes well, it will print the user's display name in the console below. So let's see if I have it wired up right. So I'll start the simulator, iOS simulator, and it will boot up the simulator. Okay, the simulator is booted up, so I'm going to select the iPhone 7 up here. Well, it's already selected, and then I'm going to hit the debug icon and launch the application. Okay, my application booted up successfully, so I want to test the sign-in. So here's the magic. I'm going to click on the action button and see if it's successful. Okay, good sign. It's going to ask me to sign in, so I'll sign in, gv.goccat. I'll use my developer account at 1@gmail.com. I'll click next, and then I'll enter the password, but I won't show you. And the two-step authentication. Okay, it's asking me something about my Google account. Yeah, remind me later. Okay, successful sign-in. So let's see what it printed out over here on the right. Oh, let's see. I don't see where it says this user signed in, so I'll find it. This user signed. Oh, there it is. It was mixed in the console output, so there it is. This user is signed in, and that's my developer account name, Aaron Donaldson. So fantastic. Everything I did was successfully wired up. So that concludes this episode on wiring up the Google sign-in process for my iOS application. Thanks for watching today. Follow me for more tips and tricks on Flutter, and I'll catch you later.